Welcome. People throughout the city of Cambridge are working hard. Today, you're going to meet a few of these people and learn about what they're doing that's going to make it easier for you to eat smart and keep moving.
Eat smart and keep moving. You can walk to work.
Eat smart and keep moving. Choose a healthy lunch.
Take a Hubway and you can get there faster.
It's fun and easy to keep moving, Cambridge.
Eat smart, keep moving.
The percentage of Cambridge residents who bike and walk is higher than any other community in the U.S. at almost 31%. We're happy to have you with us today to talk about complete streets and to learn more about how the City of Cambridge makes it work. My name is Jennifer Lawrence, and I am a sustainability planner in the Community Development Department. With me are Sue Clippinger, the Director of Traffic and Parking and Transportation, Kathy Watkins, Supervising Engineer at the Department of Public Works, and Steve Miller, Board Member at the Livable Streets Alliance. Welcome and thank you.
Pleasure.
Great. Complete streets are for everyone. They are designed and operated to enable safe access for all users. Pedestrians, bicyclists, motorists, and public transportation users of all ages and abilities are safely move along and across a complete street. Steve, why are complete streets important for health?
Well, first they involve everybody. And that's the most important thing for public health. It's not a narrow niche, but getting everybody involved. The CDC says that everybody should be doing sort of moderate exercise about 2.5 hours a week. And if you do that, the rates of obesity, of diabetes, of cancer go way, way down. Very few of us do. But people who live in places with safe sidewalks or bike lanes are something like 40 to 60% more likely to do that kind of exercise. And it's better to do something, jiggle in the seat, watching TV, than to do nothing. But best of all is actually getting out there and being active.
Great. And why do you think they're important other than just health reasons?
Well, I think we forget how important our streets are. We have 125 miles of streets in the city, and it's really a scarce public resource that goes through every neighborhood in the city. And it's more than just trying to figure out how to get cars around. A car takes up a huge amount of space. And there's an opportunity to use that scarce resource to make neighborhoods in the city a really exciting place with lots of benefits besides just getting from A to B. So we can have wider sidewalks, trees, benches, bus shelters, bike parking. We can take space to try to reduce the speeds of cars on the streets through traffic calming. We can have bus priority. We can use space for parking, loading, resident parking, bus stops. We can use the street for bike parking, for Hubway, for pop-up cafes, to add crosswalks. And all these opportunities make the street a really wonderful place and make our communities a wonderful place to be. So we're not really captive to everybody getting in a big metal box of a car and trying to go somewhere else.
Great, thank you. That's a great explanation. So doesn't that cost more to construct?
So we find that it does cost more to construct in terms of the design, in construction and maintenance, in terms of snow removal. However, the city has made a real commitment that we're going to find those extra resources to construct complete streets. There are all the benefits that Steve and Sue talked about. And we've got a lot of commitment from, a lot of support from the community for these types of projects. And so we've really been able to implement complete street design elements, which I know we're going to talk a little bit about, and making your streets and sidewalks work better for all users.
Great, thank you. So that must take a lot of coordination between departments. How do you do that?
Well, I think this is something that Cambridge has done particularly well and for a really long time. So for almost 15 years now, the Traffic and Parking Department, Community Development that does the planning activity, and Public Works that does a lot of the construction have worked really closely together. And then, police and fire are heavily involved. And now we have a real shared vision of what we're trying to do. We meet monthly to coordinate on stuff, and all the components of Complete Streets are now really owned by each of the individual departments. So we work together on big projects, but on little projects, many of these elements are just automatic, standard. That's how we do business. You're doing a park, you put in bike parking. You're fixing a school, you put in bike parking. You're fixing a sewer, you put in bike parking. So it's become part of everything we do. And so we don't even think about coordinating anymore because it's been happening so much, it just feels like the normal way of doing business.
Great, that's really wonderful. So what are the kinds of things, Sue just talked about some of the stuff you're putting in. What are the innovative things you're doing?
So one of the things, I can give two examples, focusing first on pedestrians and then second on cyclists. For pedestrians, under the Americans with Disabilities Act, we're required to include curb cuts at corners that allow pedestrians to go from the level of the sidewalk down to the level of the street. And as you can imagine, that's really important for people that are pushing strollers, using walkers, using wheelchairs, any of those kinds of mobility devices. And those have worked really well over the last number of years, but what we found is that there are actually some better details for doing that. And so we've been able to sort of use some of the designs from the traffic calming program, looking at raised intersections, raised crosswalks, and really implementing that and making it part of our sort of normal street program. And so we've been doing what we call side street raised details. They really emphasize the pedestrian crossings at these smaller residential streets, reduce the amount of ponding at the bottom of pedestrian ramps, and just really enhance the experience of walking down our sidewalks for all pedestrians.
Great.
For cyclists, I would say, we've spent a lot of energy over the last 15 years putting in about 20 miles of bike lanes, and those have been very successful, and a lot of cyclists find those very comfortable. Other cyclists that are perhaps more timid or not as used to biking with traffic, and then also on particularly heavily trafficked roads, bike lanes aren't necessarily very comfortable for people.
Great.
And so we've started implementing cycle tracks and looking at separating bikes from the automobile traffic, and that provides a much better environment and really encourages more people to get out there and bike, and building off what Steve was saying, really encouraging people to be more active in an easy environment.
Great, thank you. And that is a really good question. So there are more cyclists out there. Doesn't that, when all these people are using the same space, isn't it dangerous?
Well, as Sue said, it is scarce space, a scarce resource, but it turns out, luckily, that the number one thing you can do to increase safety, not only of bicyclists and pedestrians, but also of car drivers, is actually to get more bicyclists and pedestrians out there. And the reason is, as the drivers get used to their presence, they start slowing down, they start looking around more carefully. So safety becomes increased the more people you get out there. New York City had something like a 40% decline of accidents when they put in protected bike lanes.
Great, thank you. And Sue, can you just give me a couple of results of complete streets that have happened in the past few years here in Cambridge?
Well, I think, one, to feed off what we've just been talking about is the safety improvements. We're seeing lower speeds on residential streets, especially where we've done traffic calming, and we're seeing that the number of injuries from crashes is down, and for bikes it's flat, but the number of bikes has tripled. So there's a real safety improvement that is occurring as part of the complete streets. And then we've also seen that all of the other modes are growing. So more and more the space that we're trying to make available for peds and bikes and buses and everything is available because fewer people are driving.
Great, thank you. And we're running short on time, but how do you plan for this if you see all these people that are using the space?
The Department of Public Works has a 5-year street and sidewalk program, and so we identify the streets that we're going to be constructing over the next 5 years. And then we work with the other departments and we work with the neighborhood to really develop a design that's going to make those streets and sidewalks work well for all various users.
Great, thank you. And so just really quickly, I want to give a little bit of information on what else we're doing to engage people. We engage businesses and employers by parking and transportation demand management. And I believe behind us you'll be able to see a graph that shows you how we've been able to work with folks in that way. And also, just a really fun fact, a survey in Porter Square from just December of 2012 showed that 10% of people who travel to the square get there by bike, 49% by foot, 19% by transit, and only 21% by car. So I think that's kind of amazing, and it shows exactly what these folks have been saying. So we hope that you all learned about active transportation and all that Cambridge is doing to help you live a more active, healthy, sustainable life by getting out of the car and back into our neighborhoods. Thank you.